That's me.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. It's a very good approach. So there we go. We're
Depends on what you're
streaming.
doing. Are we
Leap
streaming right
before
now?
you look.
Leap before you look. That's my approach to everything is leap before I look. It drives my husband absolutely batty.
Oh, there you are, Jessica. I see you. We're live.
We're
I'm
live.
going to
That's
send you a
so
link, and then I'm going to
exciting.
invite people.
That's so exciting.
Right, here we go. Send that
is
to you, and
so
then we'll let some
exciting.
people in, and we'll see.
All right.
Oh, that might not work. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to start letting people in, and we can say hello because that seems to
Okay.
work.
It does work. Yeah. Okay. We got people in the lobby.
We have. Let's admit people and say hello.
Oh, there's
Hey,
Sydney.
William.
There's William.
Hey, Sydney.
Hey, guys. Let's see. All right. I got to figure out what I'm doing here. Welcome, you guys, to the show that never ends. We don't know where we are. The show has only
just started, Jessica. This is the beginning of a brave new world, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is. Guys, we were just saying to do this stuff, you've got to be a leap before you look person. And I am definitely a leap before I look. So.
Hey, Don, welcome.
Hi, Don.
The beauty of this is, just for those of you who've just joined, I was a little concerned that names and whatnot would show up in the live stream, but thankfully you're private. They don't show up in our live stream. It shows the video content, so you are safe. Feel free to come on camera if you want to, but you don't have to. But it would appear beautifully. We are just getting the video output, so you're in safe hands, just in case anybody was worried.
Yay! Okay, so Sydney's already up in it. He says, no running around in circles and jumping to conclusions. No, we didn't say that. Did we say that? We're going to run around in circles. That's part of the fun, right? Oh, that's part of the fun.
It is. You know, so you've probably got the vibe already. It's going to be super informal, this. We're just going to, every so often from the Academy, we'll be going live. And Jessica's very kindly joining us today, and I can't wait. We're going to do some things and try not to break. I called it fiber today, Jessica, but it isn't fiber, is it?
It's not. No, it's fabric. I do also do fiber. I do yarn and needlepoint, but yeah, this is great because I'm going to be educating the whole world. This is not about knitting. This is about fabric.
We could do a knitting stream if you'd like one day. You know, there might be an audience for it. Who knows?
Sydney says, can you run a test of the live feed so the view will be populated? Okay, no idea what that means. So
also,
hopefully you do, John.
Yeah. No. So Sydney, please do share. I'm not entirely sure what you mean there. What I'm doing at the moment, just for anyone who's interested, because I quite like this stuff. There's a new service inside Teams that is called customized streaming, and what that means is I can take an RTMP, I think it is, a feed from this video camera that you're seeing here for Jessica and myself, that's Spotlit. I can pump that to our YouTube channel, and it appears to be live, and people who are subscribed to our YouTube channel, which I'll post a link, you can subscribe and you'll get notified whenever we go live, just like you get notified in the Academy. But today's fabric. Oh, Sydney, fabric's great. Okay, cool.
Focus on content, and I can see the tiny fonts without disturbing everyone else. Gotcha.
Jessica's a master at this, and I want to learn your ways, Jessica, because you always, when you present in your workshops, you zoom and you circle, and I think, how's she done that? I love it.
Well, I had to learn that one the hard way because people kept saying to me when I was training, can you zoom? Can you zoom? And I was like, okay, I really clearly have to deal with this. Okay, so we're at 9:31. So should I share my
fabric.
screen?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Let's look at fabric. Just for anybody who was there last time, we got Safaras to be able to enable fabric, didn't we? And then it sort of all went a bit wrong. We tried to import some data, and then the fabric service that was a day old just didn't work. It just decided
a day old. I know, a day old, and I'm still, having struggles with it. But today, is really all about having a conversation about what fabric is and trying to help people like myself. So I'm doing this selfishly, guys. Help people that I call flatlanders, meaning people who are coming in from Excel, people who are coming in from who are business users. So we're not data scientists and whatnot, although some of you might be. I am not. We are not those people, and so it's hard to sort of decode what this all means. So the first thing, John, I want to do before I go any further is I'm going to put a link in the chat. Hang on one second. Microsoft, I think, is doing a really good job of putting out content that can really help people. So hang on, I want to put a link into the chat with some graphics that they put out that I thought were really fun and cool, and I'm going to show them here. But before we do that, I want to get this link out there so that you can look at them yourself. Hang on.
I loved.
All right,
this is stuck for me, Jessica. That your description of fabric is surfacing a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily intuitively use that's in Azure and all that good stuff, bringing it together into a rebranded, admittedly, but a product. Love that. That, like, the idea of picking up the pieces of used fabric, literally bundling them together into a thing that you can sell and make sense of. That made a lot of sense for me.
You know what? And I'll tell you another resource that I listened to this morning, and I recommend it, and I'll put a link into it here. I'm going to go to these notes in 1 second. That's
way too small, Sydney.
is the fact that Office, like some of you, like you, John, or maybe some of you who are listening, may not even remember. You may not even remember the release of Office. And I do remember it. I was in college. It was released, the component parts were released in the early 80s. So Word, PowerPoint, Excel, those were released in the early 80s. And then I think somewhere in the 90s or late 80s, Microsoft bundled those packages all together into Microsoft Office. And we don't think of them separately now at all. We don't think of them as independent units. And I think I loved, oh, Sydney, look at that. Oh my God, Sydney, you are the OG. You are the OG. He saw Bill Gates presenting? What? Anyway, so cool. But this just shows that Microsoft has a long, successful history of doing this bundling. And now we don't even we think of Office as a completely integrated tool set. We don't even think of these other programs as being individual programs, but once upon a time they were. And so that's kind of what's happening here with Fabric, I think. Not kind of, that in my opinion, that's what's happening here, is that they are taking components from Azure, or as John likes to say,
Azure. Thank you. For us Brits, it's Azure. I'm sure it's not. Azure. All the Brits are going, it's Azure. It's Azure. Shut up, John, you idiot. It's not. It's Azure.
Azure. I can't even say it your way. But anyway, so taking components from Azure, and they are putting them under this one rubric of Fabric. And so for me, I can only speak for me, really, because I know that there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of different things. But for me, I feel like this gives me access to easier access to some of the tool sets. And it kind of reduces the barrier to learning some of those tool sets. So let's talk a little bit about what they're calling the personas. So first of all, you have to have enabled Fabric. I think we went through that last time. You are not going to be able to see any of this stuff I'm going to show unless you've actually your administrator has enabled it at the tenant level. I am my own administrator, yay me. So I can definitely enable, and I did. So once you enable this, you will see down here in the lower left-hand corner of your Power BI screen. Okay, so I'm in Power BI right now. Nothing magic about getting into Power BI, same as you always do. Okay, but once you're in there, if the Power BI, if you've got a Fabric trial enabled, you are going to see, when I click on that little icon down there, and let me zoom up, you are going to see these personas. That's what they're calling these, is personas. So Data Factory is one that I've used. Okay, so that's why it's up here at the top. But the personas are data engineering, data science, data warehouse, and real-time analytics. And what I really like about all of this is that it's going to make this more accessible for me to be able to learn. And just to give you a point of comparison, okay, just to give you a point of comparison, hold on. I am going to go over to, hold on, all apps. Oh, I have to go to a separate window. Sorry, that tells you how often I do it, which is hardly ever. Is it app.azure? I don't think it is. I think it's Azure. Let's see. Come on, Azure. Oh, it's taking me to Bing. So this does tell you how often
Microsoft.com.
Is it? Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Portal.azure.com.
yeah.
There we go. That tells you how often I go there. I hardly ever go there.
Wrong.
No, here we go. All right. Please don't make me log in. Please don't make me log in.
Portal. Okay, portal.azure.com.
Portal.azure.com.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we are. If you've never been in Azure, this is Azure. But I want you to just kind of look at, I'm going to click on Home, All Services over here, and I'll zoom up. Okay, I'll zoom up. Okay. Now, I want you to just take a look over here at all the stuff over here. Okay, really? To me personally, this is completely overwhelming. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Oh, Sydney says not seeing the screen. Do you see the screen?
Yes,
John?
I do. That's interesting.
Okay.
You just popped out if you get a black screen, Sydney, in Teams, this is a Teams feature we can announce. It's just been released. It's called the black screen of death. Sometimes popping out of the meeting and coming back in will fix that. Yeah, it's a really odd one, that once you start messing with views. There's never a perfect.
Snort. He said snort. I love that. Snort. Anyway, I mean, look at all this stuff here. Like, really? No. And you know what, guys, when I used to teach Excel, I would tell this story because it was true. I'd know that there were all these features in Excel that I didn't use. And you know, I'd say, okay, today's the day. I'm going to go in, I'm going to learn this, whatever it was, VLOOKUP, or, you know, whatever it was, data validation, any of those things. And I would go in and I would I'd start the process. I'd get one of those Excel windows open and I'd be like, no, today's not the day. And I'd close it and I just wouldn't, you know, I couldn't, it was too much. And that's kind of what we have going on here as well, in my opinion. Huge amount of stuff to use, not accessible for people who are trying to get into that space. Definitely amazing for people who already have the training and the knowledge.
Yeah.
But now, if we go back over here to Fabric, I now have all of these things available to me. Now, does that mean I'm going to be able to use them right away? No, it does not mean that, I can promise you. And but let's just click through and look at data engineering really quickly just to see what that looks like, because each one of those is going to pop you into a different environment. So if I choose data engineering, up here, you will see that it says Synapse Data Engineering. And Azure Synapse, and I did not know this, so I'm learning as well. Microsoft did a previous iteration of this, as far as I can tell, because they took some of the stuff that was independent inside of Azure and bundled it all together in Synapse. And so now they're taking everything that was in Synapse, and not everything, I can't say that. I don't know that they took everything, but they took key components of Synapse and surfaced them over here. So if you look, you have several options here. Okay, so you've got your lake house, notebooks, Spark job definition, data pipeline, import notebook, use a sample. So let me just talk about the ones I've been playing with. I cannot position myself as an expert here at all. I have been playing with Lakehouse, and Lakehouse is going to be, from the best that I can understand, and again, this is for my flatlanders like me, it's going to be a combination of a place where you can store amorphous data. Okay, I think they technically call it blob data, but you know,
it's like AWS blob storage, isn't it? It's stuff,
right?
Stuff.
Kind of like your junk drawer in the kitchen. Do you have a junk drawer, John?
Oh, we have many of them. We have a children's cupboard which is full of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of like that. Like a lake house is kind of like your junk drawer in the kitchen. Like if you, you don't have the little separators for the utensils or anything like that. It's just sort of like all junked into that drawer. Then they're also, so that's a data lake. And then they're combining that with a data warehouse. So you're getting the two, it's basically a BOGO. You're getting 2 for 1. So a data warehouse, which most people are probably familiar with, at least in terms of terminology, is a way to store structured data. So I love that, Sydney. Are these teenage blobs or granny blobs? Okay, what does that even mean? Hello? What's the thing, granny blob? Okay, watch out, because you know what? I don't have all my hair is gray.
We should just do a live stream with you, Sydney. Just you can talk, and we'll try and figure out what a granny blob is and what a teenage blob is.
I know, right? Exactly. So the Lakehouse allows you to combine different kinds of data, structured data and unstructured data. And what's I think really cool about this idea is that it's going to be one source. Okay, so you're not going to have to go over here to get this kind of data and over there to get that kind of data. It's all going to be housed, no pun intended, in this lake house. So think about OneDrive and when OneDrive launched, because I do remember that, and I was training on it pretty early on. And OneDrive was like that one place where you can put all your files. Okay. The other term that I've started to hear them using about Fabric All Up is single pane of glass. And I don't know if you remember when Teams launched, but Teams, they also used that terminology, single pane of glass, for everything that you're doing. So you can look through a single pane of glass and see everything.
Like a hub, like a reception area, like a launch pad, like all those things.
Everything, yeah, all in one place. All in one place. So again, I think nobody's asked me. I don't communicate with senior executives at Microsoft. They're not terribly interested in me. But I think what's happening is that, they're building on what they know how to do, which is to bundle and relabel. And, and if we can analogize this stuff to our own previous experience, I think it gets a little less intimidating. At least it does for me. I think honestly, and I'm not paid by Microsoft. They don't, they don't even know who I am really.
They should do.
But they don't, because there's lots of other amazing influencers out there, and I'm just not that person. But I think that, I do think this will have the amount of impact that Office had. I really do. And I'm not a fangirl, and I'm pretty cynical for the most part. But I think this is going to have the same level of impact eventually. Not right away, obviously. But anyway, so you get a lake house. You also get this notebook capability. Oh, Sydney has his hand up. What's going on, Sydney? What's going on? You're not just putting your comment in there? Hold on, let's see what Sydney has to say. And by the way, William and Don, please feel free to jump in here. We are wanting this to be super interactive, so.
Sydney, Sydney, you have challenges with Teams windows. I understand you're fiddling. Yeah, okay. I did
Oh,
wonder
wait a
that.
minute.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Control.
I
What
have
is
been
it?
calling
Control Shift and
Sydney.
K to put your hand up. I can't remember. Connor will kill me. He tells me the shortcuts for it all.
Sydney, I apologize. I think I have been referring to you as he, and it looks like it's she. So again, if I apologize if I got your name wrong, or your apologies to you. Anyway, okay, notebooks. Now, notebooks to me seem to be, I think, going to be one of the most interesting features that we sort of flatlanders can sort of grab onto. I've started to play with it, so I am going to navigate to one of my notebooks. So if you look down here, guys, this is a workspace. So this is exactly the same thing as you've been working with all this time. Okay, but well, this is actually my Power BI menu, but you see that I've got Fabric Workspace here. I also have all these other artifacts here. And one of the artifacts is this thing called Notebook One. Now, this is not super scientific here, because again, I'm definitely playing with this. Sorry, my screen is just jumping around here, but I created a notebook. So I'm going to open it now. And I'm going to just talk about what I've experienced so far. Notice I'm still in the Synapse Data Engineering module, because notebooks are part of data engineering. And I think they are going to be trying to analogize this to something you already know. Sydney's like, you could see any comment is accepted. Absolutely. So this
What
to
are we
me
seeing here? What
is the
language are we
OneNote
seeing there?
Python.
Okay, so
this is to
okay.
me, yep, this is OneNote for data, because the concept of a notebook, period, is that it can have lots of mixed type of content in here. So to me, I am framing this as OneNote for data. That may or may not help your brain, but it helps my brain, because I think one of the things that I love about OneNote is that it does accept all kinds of different content. You know, you can kind of put in pictures and comments and documents and links and all that kind of stuff. So the way a notebook works, and again, I am just at the beginning of my learning journey here, so take this with a pound of salt, but that's okay. We're experimenting here. Is you have these cells, okay? So this is a cell, and then you type in the Python, or copy in the Python, codes that you want to, or functions that you want to work with. And what I think is really cool about Python, to me, is that you have your code in the cell. You can run just that particular cell, so you can kind of test, your steps as you go along. Oh, sorry guys, that's zooming in way too much.
That is, yeah, that's close enough, Sydney, for you.
Yeah, right. But you can take you can write some code, and you can run it just to see, what the results are going to be. And the results are presented to you in what is called a data frame. And in fact, if you look up here, you'll see this DF, okay, and then DF here. That stands for data frame. Okay, so all I did here was get a link. Sydney's like, I can see it 24 inches tall. Yay! All I did was get the ABFSS link to a file that I had already stored in my Lakehouse. Okay, so here you can see, here's the link, and you can see that they're calling it OneLake right there. Okay, so, and this is just a plain old product CSV, so there's nothing fancy about this data in any way, shape, or form. Okay, it's just a plain old product CSV that I have stored. And the first thing I did was just bring it in, okay, because I literally know nothing about Python. I mean, literally nothing. So I'm like frantically Googling and trying different things. And we all know how that works, right? Like you try something, then you try something else. And eventually you make your way to the right syntax and the right construction.
Or you ask ChatGPT, yeah.
I have not used
Oh,
ChatGPT.
you should. It's pretty clever, to be fair. I'm going to give it its credit. It's I know we bang on about it, but it's for things like where you know what you want to do. It'd be interesting to see what it makes of this actually, because this is a new context it's writing. It's just Python code. Give me the Python code to do X, and you're more than likely going to get
let's try
something.
that. Hold on, let's try it, because I'm okay. So the first thing I did in this notebook was simply display the results of bringing this data in. Okay, so nothing fancy here. Here's the results, and notice that I could even start right here, and I can export those results, or I could create a chart off of these results. But the next thing you do, or the next thing I did, was like, I was like, okay, so now I have this column here. Okay, this column right here. Oh, my zoom in is kind of feeling really not
Still
nice
want to know
today.
how
There
you
we
do
go.
that. I love the fact that you can zoom in and you draw. Are you using a tablet right now on your?
No, no, honey. This is a Zoom It. This is a free application. Free, friend, free. Yep.
Ooh.
Oh
He
yeah.
goes to
Here we
look at
go.
that. Zoom it.
Zoom it. Yep. There you go. So here you can see that I need to split this column. Okay, because this column has multiple data points in the same column, which is never a good idea for a tabular model. So I need to split it twice. Okay, I need to split it first on that first space, then I need to split it on the second delimiter, which is the pipe symbol. So that is what I'm trying to accomplish. Well, but first of all, I thought, okay, let me just isolate this column, okay? Because again, I'm just practicing. I don't really know. I should say, I was going to say I don't really know what I'm doing. I should say I really do not know what I am doing. So if you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go try it, try it. You know what? Try it.
Best way to find out. Yeah, best way is to experiment, isn't it? Hands on.
Exactly. And so this time I put in the code for, I said, okay, I'm going to create a new data frame out of the existing data frame that I have there. Remember, everything is expressed, as far as I can tell, as a data frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, I want you to select just the product column, and then I want you to display my new data frame. So my new data frame is just going to have the product column in it. Okay. Oh, I love that. It's not documented in business language. I love that. That is so true.
It is.
And it's not documented, in my opinion, it's not documented. Well, let me say it this way, because first of all, they've done an outstanding job getting the documentation that they do have up there. They have a ton of documentation already, so that's amazing. But I still feel like it has to be translated into, okay, what does that mean for me? I just started learning Power BI, or I just figured out how to do this. What does this even mean for my future or where I am? You know, so again, love that comment, Sydney.
Yeah, it's true. And I know this is a blatant sales pitch, but it is how we think at the Academy. We think this term blue. Build it, learn it, use it, enhance it. We think, how is a human being going to be able to get this? And it's great. Microsoft Learn's great. But as a human being, you want to approach a problem and be able to solve it. And that's what we need to do. That's what you do, Jessica. You speak to me in human language and I get it. And that's what we try and do. You know, John, this is a quilt. We're going to sew the pieces of the thing together to make a quilt. I get that. You know, that's the sort of language we need, isn't it, to interpret all this change?
Yeah, and I think I think one of the things I try to do when I'm training is I really try to remember, and I think I do a really good job of remembering how inaccessible some of this technology was to me when I was starting, because I did not have the database background. I did not have the vocabulary. I didn't have the concepts. I didn't know any of that. Okay. And Anyway, so yes, that's what we're struggling to do. So here we go. I've isolated this. Now, my next step that I wanted to do, and I wanted to do it before this meeting, because I thought, oh, my next step is I just want to know how to split this column. Okay. And so I went and I Googled and I looked and and I tried various constructions here, none of which work. So I think what we ought to do is go to ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, give it a go.
Yeah, ask them. So John, you share your screen because I literally have never used ChatGPT.
Yeah, sure. Just bear with me 1 second. So I'll ask a question, and I'll pop over to ChatGPT. What are we really doing here? So we are in that persona, aren't we? We're in that persona where you are a person who might, in perhaps other language, create views and cubes. You're crafting the data. Is that what this role is doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that the Chris Wagner, who I highly recommend you guys go to YouTube. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put this in the chat while YouTube Kratos BI Toast BI channel. He is doing a bunch of stuff on what he's calling Fabric Friday, and I love Chris. He's so knowledgeable and he's so open to helping anybody in the community. So I definitely recommend that you go check those out on his channel. Also, Guy in a Cube. I learned Power BI by watching every single video that they had and reading all the comments on every single video. Mm-hmm. That's what gave me the ability to kind of say, okay, now I understand this concept. Let me go Google this. Let me go learn a little more about it. And they are just launching their Fabric content. Ooh, Don, thank you. Rob Colley, Power Pivot Pro. Love that. Love Rob Colley. He is the OG on, because he was out there doing this type of stuff way back. So I recommend going out and looking at all the content you can look at, because you never know how someone is going to put something. So where I was going with this was that Chris Wagner, on last week, he had a live stream and I was actually on it asking what I call the dumbass questions. But he, oh, I know what I was going to say. He said that the notebook experience is very much like what you're doing in a Power Query Editor, because in Power Query Editor, you have all of the results encapsulated in a step. And essentially, that's what's happening here. But we're doing it within the confines of a notebook, and we can comment on things. We can add other content in here. So for me, that analogy really, really worked. I was like, okay, I get this now. Now I have to try to learn Python, or really what they call PySpark, because I think that's what this is PySpark. Again, not something that I know anything about. But all right, I'm going to turn it over to you, John, and let's see what ChatGPT has to say.
Well, we'll just play with our camera settings, and just to give the stream a little bit more space on my. Can you see my screen? You should be able to see me.
Yep.
You can. So
I can. Yeah.
I think this is public now. Everybody can get this on Edge. You've got your Bing bar on the right hand side. I call it Bing.
The Bing bar.
The Bing bar.
The Bing bar.
I'm going to go for a more precise answer. And what I'm going to do is I just have to ask it a question. And it's like, I don't know if this will work. I don't know what the right language is. But how would you describe what you're after, Jessica? And I shall type it in and we'll see what it gives me. So give me the Python.
Splitting a column in Python or PySpark. I don't know. I can't quite understand if PySpark is a subset of Python. Anybody on the live stream? No sharing showing. Okay, thank you, Sydney.
Interesting. Yeah, so you should just see my camera, and my camera should be showing my screen. The challenge is, let me just try this. Let me try this. It's a live stream experiment.
It is. You guys are here on the cutting edge.
I'll make sure I share the right
Don
thing.
says, Power Query is easier, I think. But Don, before you jump, just FYI, Power Query is built into this experience. We haven't gotten there yet, but you do still have Power Query here.
Yeah. Okay, so can you see my screen now? Let's let me find my wonderful Teams window. Let's see. I see a little John in the bottom of the chat column. Okay, I'm only little, Sydney, so that's probably the real size me. Let me just change my camera over so you now don't get confused, and you should see my screen as the main content, Sydney, and anybody else watching this. Right, I'm going to push on. So give me, so you can see down here, I've just typed in, give me the Python to use for splitting a column of data. What's the format of it? Is it in a CSV?
CSV, yep, it's in a CSV, and I want to know how to split it using Python. Split a column using Python.
And what are the column names? How's the data described?
The column name is called product. And the splits are going to be on a space character and on a pipe delimiter. I mean, to be honest, if we can get the syntax just for splitting, then we'll be fine.
The more precise you get with ChatGPT, the better. And the delimiter is
okay. So while you're doing that, it's a pipe and no, not a comma, a space and a pipe.
Let's just do that and see what it comes up with.
Okay. So Don's got a question. What's the licensing cost? We have too many users. Okay, so first of all, full disclaimer, I don't work for Microsoft. I don't represent Microsoft. I have no inside knowledge. So with that out of the way, my understanding is that it will be baked into premium capacity. So if you've got premium capacity already, then you're going to have it. Okay. I myself, I'm just one tiny little person in an organization, my own organization. So I don't have premium capacity. That stuff costs $5,000 a month. I don't got it. I don't got that kind of money. Okay. So what I have heard is that they are aware of that barrier to entry and that they are coming up with lots of different ways to SKUs in order to purchase it. I have heard 160 a month, but again, please do not take any action on that, because first of all, they have not announced the pricing. They have not. Everyone's asking about it. The only thing they've answered is that it will be baked into a premium. And then Sydney says maybe you could just select a dev group and get a trial. So I'm running a trial right now on my tenant. And so that's what we're looking at here is a trial environment. And then I have tried to do it on a dev tenant. And because my dev tenant is running I think because my dev tenant is running a pro license trial, I'm not able, I don't think, to spin up a Fabric trial on my dev tenant, but I do have a Fabric trial on my main tenant, the one that I actually pay for.
Right now, isn't it? It's like experiment. Feel free to experiment, and we will tell you the prices when you're hooked.
Exactly, maybe. And they did that with Power BI. They did that with Power BI. They absolutely did. So, you know, it is what it is. I do know that you still will need, I know that you'll still need a Power BI Pro license to work with this. So regardless of, you know, what their SKU pricing is, you are still going to need your Pro licenses or your E5 licenses, which come baked in with Pro. Okay. Oh, Copilot. That's not even out there yet, so I'm not even looking at that. So
not in BI, it's not, is it?
No. Okay. So what have you come up with?
So I mean, you know, to the untrained eye, which is my eye, so you can use a library, the Pandas library, and there's a method in that library, which sort of makes sense. That's developer. It's giving you all of this, and I'm going to paste this in just because this is an interesting experiment. This could be some code that you can use.
Okay, let
me zoom in a bit. I don't know if I can zoom. I don't have your capabilities, Jessica. I'm going to have to learn that, but I'm going to pop this into the chat.
Yep.
Let's see where we go with that. So that, I mean, that
DF
it says
product.
it reads a file into a data frame. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it splits the product column based on the pipe delimiter, and it tells you how it does it. And the resulting data frame will have each value in the product column as a list of strings, which to me seems very logical. It's like a 3-step thing that it's just given you.
Okay, so we've already done step 1. So we've got the data read in.
Right.
All right, so now we're going to split the product column based on the pipe delimiter. So what it says here, all right, let's try it. So I've got DF.
Let's give me back sharing.
Oh yeah, good idea. Hold on.
Hey, this is like a nice little tangent, isn't it? How you can use, because I'm starting to try to use GPT-4 a little bit through the Bing browser, but I'm starting to try and use it to work out some of the problems when I face them. And I'm interested how good these shortcuts are, just as a tangent. So let's see.
Okay, so I am going to make a new, okay, hold on. I'm just going to make a new code cell up here. So what I did to do that was I came up to the top and I did an edit. I chose edit. Okay, right here. And then I'm going to choose add code cell. And how I found that was just click, 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 click.
Yeah.
So, all right, so now I've got a new code cell down here. So this is where I'm going to try to put in what we have here. So let's see. DF. Okay, data frame, so we know what that is. Oh, I could, but if I do this, look at how nice you get the little IntelliSense. And speaking of Don's comment, this IntelliSense looks exactly like what it looks like in Power Query Editor. Okay, so hold on, equals, okay, and then DF, okay, and then we're gonna do, I think I have to go with manufacturer there because I think it's got to go with, see how it says DF product after the equal sign? I think we have to put in the manufacturer name there because that's the data frame that I have above.
Okay, so yeah, your data frame for product will be made from your manufacturer data frame, but based on the delimiter, the string split.
Exactly. So hold on, let's just try it. This is monkey coding because this is me literally just copying and pasting. But that,
like,
to me,
sometimes when you break this stuff down, sorry, Jessica. Yeah, I was just going to say, when you break it down, you do it like this, your brain has to think what's going on. And I genuinely can learn, like, this is just me speaking. I learn like this. I'll take an example. Go, what's it actually saying to me there?
Right. And Sydney's comment is, it appears that Microsoft is integrating with the other parts of the platform. Yes, absolutely. So they are absolutely bringing in. So for example, Sydney, I don't know if you're referring to the menu bar up here at the top, but it looks an awful lot like what I remember Power Apps looks like.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not an expert on Power Apps by no means. All right, so I'm going to just run this. Okay, everybody, cross your fingers, cross your toes. I'm going to run this and see what I get.
Yeah, because you shouldn't really need to display the resulting frame, should you?
Oh, yeah, but I should because I want to see what I've got here. So hold on. I'm going to come. Oh, wait a minute. It's doing something. Hold on. Okay. So if I could zoom up, you could see that something is happening. Okay. Apache Spark session started. Okay. So we've got name DF is not defined. Okay. So let's go back and look at what they have. Product.string.split. What if I take that DF out of there? What happens then?
Have you read your CSV into the Python first? So has it got your CSV? Where's that step? It has.
It should be up here. So it is up here because I'm picking up off of this. So what I wanted to do is literally, I'm keeping it so basic and so simple. I'm literally just taking this column and I want it to take the so this is the result.
Manufacturer underscore DF. Right, got you.
Oh, wait, maybe let me see what I did. Maybe I did something wrong here. Hold on, guys. We told you this was live, right?
Live mucking about with Jessica and John.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so we know we have an error here.
Yeah,
so I said
manufacturer_df.
manufacturer.df, so that's a problem. So let me go and let me edit this and see if that fixes it. And if anybody here is a Python person, please feel free to jump in. All right, I'm going to run this again just to see if that fixed anything. Okay, no, it still doesn't like that df in the front. So I'm going to get rid of that df and see if that fixed. But see, this is what I really, really like, is that if I wanted to, okay, if I wanted to, I could start a new cell each time with each iteration that I'm trying. Because if I just modify this one right here, I can't keep a record of the iterations that I tried. So I can say, oh, did I try that already? Okay, maybe I didn't try that. So that to me right there is really helpful. One really helpful feature about notebooks is I can experiment and keep a record of my experiments and then go, okay, I don't know exactly, you know, I don't, oftentimes what I experience is that if I do that iterative process, I don't remember what I tried and what I didn't try. Do you know what I mean? So this way is a great way to see and keep. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to keep hammering at this, but I'm going to create new cells each time and try it just to see, okay, and see when I get to the point where I've clearly understood what the code needs. And obviously, you know, I am going to websites. I am looking at websites. I am trying to look at other tools to try to, and I've ordered several books, which I have to say my husband is very jealous of, because I told him, you can't look at those books. They're all for me. So, and he's very
new books.
Shiny new books. So anyway, and I'll be happy to come back and talk about the books and show them, and, you know, if any of them, you know, are worth it. I'm sure there probably are some good ones that I've ordered. But anyway, so that's kind of where I am with this notebook business. Is I'm really going to hit hard on this, because I think, first of all, this does do stuff faster than Power Query Editor does.
Okay.
Not that you can use this to transform at scale. Okay. Now, I personally don't have any needs to transform at scale, but that's because I do training. Okay. So I'm never using some enormous set of data.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%
but other people,
yeah,
that's reality for a lot of people, is they're working at scale.
Do you think, Jessica, so just going back on something you said then, so is the idea of a notebook, it will procedurally go through the cells that you've created? It's not like one cell does it all and then it forgets. It will go from top to bottom, do you believe? Because that's sort of fundamental to the thinking.
Yes, because one of the things that Chris Wagner said last week on his first Fabric Friday live stream was, essentially, Power Query Editor is doing the same thing. Okay, you're doing the same thing. Yeah. However, the differences are capacity-wise. Being able to work at scale with, you know, huge volumes of data. Am I still a huge Power Query Editor fangirl? Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing that I think is really great about notebooks is you can have somebody working with you in the space. So just like your OneNote notebook, where you can get in there and you can be collaborating and people can be adding things, you know, John and I could literally be in this notebook together, adding stuff, trying stuff, and it would be just one record. And you can't do that in the Power Query Editor.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I'm starting to unpack this in my brain now. I'm thinking, yeah, you're absolutely right. That scale idea is where you'd reach for this. If you just want a quick consumer-based, I'm going to rip around some data and create some information, I can do a visual, you're probably going to stick with Power BI Desktop, aren't you? But if you want to industrialize your process, maybe even collaborate on it, because I'm assuming there's some ability to comment and collaborate and help. You're going to reach for this, aren't you? And this is a place where you're going to build your data schematics. You're going to build your data. I I think that's awesome, actually.
If you look over here, you can see that there is a co-editing.
Yeah,
okay,
nice.
So in theory, if John and I were in this tenant together, we could be co-editing right here.
Yeah, and you could be saying, yeah, that's nice.
Well, and I think because the thing about the Power Query editor is, to a great extent, it's a little bit of a black box. It's not if you open up the advanced editor and you look in the advanced editor for your lines of code, but if you're just getting in there and starting, you can copy your code and you can actually copy a query, but you cannot have this type of collaborative surfacing of all the things you've tried, so that someone else can get in there and interact with it and look at it and see it. And so to me, that's a huge advantage of this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm just going to give sorry, Jessica, just a quick time check. It's probably only about 10 minutes left, but do you know, this has also reinforced another thing. Power BI was big. This is big, like big.
This is huge.
It doesn't have to be, does it? You can have a steel thread through it, I call it, like a line through it, but this is a lot we've got. It's not just point and click.
This is huge. And like I said, I'm not a fangirl. I'm not everything Microsoft does is so great, and they never make mistakes and they're so excellent. No, of course they do. Of course they make mistakes. Of course they have faux pas. Of course they have products that, and part of, I think, the learning curve here is going to be remembering that they have released basically a minimum viable product. I don't know if they say that or they call it that, but they've got out in our hands a product that we can play with. And the problem is that sometimes when you have a product you can play with, it doesn't actually work exactly because it's still in preview. So that's the other thing I would say for anybody who's playing with this. Never, ever, ever, ever put anything into production that Microsoft has labeled preview. Don't depend on it. Don't count on it, because Microsoft reserves the right to change their mysterious Microsoft mind and take something away. And if you've built it into your production, you're I'm not going to use the word on the live stream. We're going to keep this family friendly, but you are messed up.
Yeah, Sydney says, don't let the canary into your prod machines. You're right. And yeah, that summarizes it as well, taking the disorganized and unstructured and fitting it into a much more structured, and now, to your point, Jessica, coherent fabric whole. God, I sound like a salesperson for it. I'm so not. I'm just trying to reconcile this thing in my brain, and I think we're all thinking in the same angles, aren't we, here?
Yeah, no, I think this is huge. So anyway, I've spent a lot of time on notebooks. So let me go back and just because I know we're almost out of time, but hold on, let me just talk about some other things. And I mean talk about, because I'm not, I'm just getting in here just like you guys are. First of all, notice, Sydney says, I'm ready for the tentative conclusions of what Fabric seems to be heading. Do you mean what it's heading towards? Is that what you mean, Sydney? Because if that's what you mean, okay, so I'll give you that, my top line, and John can give you his top line, and with those two top lines, you cannot buy a cup of coffee, okay? So top line for me is this has just taken me as a Flatlander, as a data analyst, as a business analyst, and that's who my audience is, that's who I work with, et cetera, et cetera. It's just taken all of those tools that I have heard about, and I maybe even wanted to venture in there and look at them, but I tried and I got discouraged. It has just put them within my reach. And do I think that immediately I'm going to start doing machine learning? Okay, so let me just quickly get down here and let's just look quickly. You've got your data science down here. Do I think I'm going to, oh, sorry guys, that is zoomed up, but there we go. Let's go one more down. Hold on, guys. Data science. Do I think I'm going to be in here doing, machine learning models? No, I do not. I'm a long way from this. But Do I know that it's here so that if at some point I go, okay, I am ready for this now, I think I can tackle this? Yeah, I think they've just moved the needle in terms of putting data into the hands of civilians. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm super excited about this. Let me go one more because I know we're almost out of time here. Data engineering. So for me personally, my learning paths are going to focus in right now on data engineering, because that's, to me, the thing that I think I can master that leap, because it's going to go from the Power Query. I'm going to take all the stuff that I know in the Power Query editor, and I'm going to translate those things to Python. So my learning approach to the data engineering is I am pulling in data that I know, that I teach from, that's super basic data, nothing fancy about it. It's all fake. I am pulling that data into my lake houses. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay. Anyone else see a SharePoint screen with promoted links opening up a library list of basic content? Not sure what you mean. You mean you see that right now? Hold on, I'm going to go to my lake house here. So I am just going down here just so you can see. I'm going right here and I'm going to go into my lake house. Okay. And you can see that I've got some content here. Okay. And we got to wait a minute for it to come through. Hang on. And what I'm working on right now, my learning curve right now, is I have figured out how to upload files. Okay, so I figured out how to do that. That was pretty basic. Okay, so I figured out how to upload files. That's just get
and the
data.
key there is it can be structured and unstructured into your lakehouse, can't it? Which is perhaps, I know you can do that in Power Query. You can pull all that stuff in through a process, but this makes it super easy, right? And then you turn it to structured.
Yes, so this is upload files. So I've definitely done this one, and this is in here. So I've got all these files in here. Then and these are all just fake data that I work with all the time. So I know it backwards and forwards. And one thing I will say about my experience with learning is, when you're starting, make sure you work with something that you know backwards and forwards, because to me, the idea of having to separate out, okay, what's going wrong with whatever I'm doing, I want to be able to rule out the data. I want to be able to say, no, it's not anything to do with, my understanding of the data. But then I have taken these CSV files and I have converted them. Okay, so I took them and I just come over here to the little ellipses and I load to a table. And this is what we did last week and it didn't work. But then the very next day, I was able, not by doing anything different, I was able to get all this stuff in here. So these are all structured. Oh, John, do you have a question?
I do. I'm gonna regret this, right, Jessica? Because you're gonna tell me one thing and I'm gonna believe another. Ellipses or ellipse? I have heard many variations. What do you say?
Ellipses. Ellipses.
Ellipsis, I say as well. I've heard ellipse as well, and somebody, anyway, just a little brain bubble there. That I have a lot. I hear it a lot, and I think, what's the correct pronunciation of that thing?
You know what? Don't ask a Brit what the correct pronunciation is for anything. They just don't know. Sorry, William, if you're a Brit, so sorry. Okay, there we go. Potato.
Aluminium.
Aluminum. All right. So this is where my current hang up is. So I'll show you guys this. So I've managed to bring in everything that I want to play with here, except this one geo query. So I'm going to come over here and just say load to tables, and then I'll show you. By the way, you can only have I guess the files are stored in Parquet. And I guess the limitation with Parquet is that your file name can't have any spaces. There are certain characters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, that was a learning that I had kind of by accident. But anyway, we confirm this, and I'm going to get an error over here. So what I need to do is I need to go and try to decode why am I getting this error, but I'll wait here for a minute. Oh, don't even tell me you're going to do it now. Don't even tell me you're going to do it now.
Of course it is. It's going to work. It's the opposite of the demo god. It won't work now. I've just said it's going to work.
Yeah. Hello. Oh, I didn't even make a sacrifice to the. Oh, it worked. Oh my God. Okay. I have no idea why that worked. I tried that 7
Cloud Service
times.
101. Sometimes no reason why something does or doesn't work. They just do.
Oh my God. Okay. So now I can say safely that I have, and this is all data from Dashboard in a Day. Okay. So this is just standard data that Microsoft uses to present their products. Okay. Or someone fixed the code. I have no idea. I literally tried that 2 minutes before we went live and it errored out. So now that I've got that data into a table format here, okay, my next big hurdle that I want to go through, and I don't know how to do it yet, okay, is I want to be able to get in here and perform, transformations on it. Okay, now the Power Query Editor is available here. Okay, it is available, and you can even copy in data flows that you have from other locations. Okay, but I'm going to just go do Get Data, and then notice that we have this Data Flow Gen 2. Now, this is something I learned just like literally 5 minutes ago, not 5 minutes ago, but last week. Okay, I knew that we had data flows in the service. I knew that. I knew that Power Query Editor exists in the service, and it's a great place to do your transformations and save them as data flows. Got it. What I never made the leap to is that even when you're doing it in the desktop, the resulting product, when you perform your transformations in the desktop, you have that product, that output is called a data flow, and it makes total sense. It's just not something I ever.
Isn't there? Yeah.
I just never thought about it, and so
yeah,
I kept saying,
sense.
How am I going to get an Excel file in? Because if you try to bring an Excel file in, okay, remember I'm always trying to think about my Flatlanders. Okay, if I go to Files and I have a bunch of Excel files in here, notice that if I come over here to my ellipses, my 3 dots. Okay, and I will not see load to table. Okay, that is not an option for my Excel files. So I was like, okay, so then I said to people who are much more knowledgeable, I don't know why I said, well, I can't bring Excel files in. And they're like, well, you can, it's a data flow. And I'm like, a data flow, that's in the Power BI service. But in point of fact, it's also, just period, a file with your transformations. So if I click on New Data Flow, and they call it Gen 2 because from what I can see, and again, this is not a comprehensive review, but from what I have read so far, this Data Flow Gen 2, it autosaves. As far as I can tell, that's the primary difference, is that unlike a traditional data flow, if we can say we have such a thing, where you have to save the data flow, here it just autosaves. I'm sure there's other differences, but and Sydney, I saw your comment about spaces in the name, but no, the other ones that you saw in my Lakehouse, those were Excel files, and I didn't try. Okay, I did not try to load those because you can't. All right, but here, this should look very familiar to people here. Okay, this is just the Power Query Editor in the service, and I can begin to bring in stuff just the same way you always do, or I can import over here from an existing data flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try that. And I haven't done this at all, so this is definitely a leap before we look. Okay, so connection is my Power Platform data flows. Okay, we're good with that. I'm going to hit next. And notice that they call it Power Platform there.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I've heard, I mean, I made a suggestion last time that maybe this is the precursor to Power BI no longer being in the Power family.
I will tell you that if you go watch Christian Wade on Reed Havens' YouTube channel last Friday, I'll put this in here because Reed Havens is always a good watch, always. Last Friday, Christian Wade was on there and he said something, and I don't know if it was just kind of like a casual, but he said something where it made it sound to me like Power BI was going to go into the Office platform, which I thought was very interesting. Okay, so now, meanwhile, I've been doing all of this here. Okay, so I came in here. This, I believe, and this is something, John, you could talk more about. This, I believe, is coming in from Power Apps, the environments concept.
Yeah, the Power Platform is doing that thing where it's allowing you to segment. I mean, the tenant really allows you to have environments which are containers for all of your stuff. And you can separate your environment. So you have a sandpit, you have test, you have UAT, whatever your process looks like, and you protect production, and you can move components through those environments.
Gotcha. Okay, so I am using workspaces. So let me zoom up again. And I created what I called a plain old workspace, meaning it's not Fabric enabled. This has no capacity associated with it. It's just, plain old what we're used to. But now look at this. I have a data flow that I actually created using those files that I use all the time. Okay, so I want to bring in each one of these. Okay, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm bringing in a data flow that I created and in just a plain old vanilla data flow generation 1. And now I'm bringing in it over here. Will we need a data column? Yes, no, that's to show what is becoming Fabric enabled. Your workspaces will have the premium diamond next to them. So if you have created a workspace that is Fabric enabled and you're like me and you don't have premium capacity at all, then you will see, sorry, I got distracted there. It'll have a little diamond next to it. So it will tell you that that workspace is enabled. But so here, this is bringing in the flow. Okay, and I'm not seeing anything in here, but that's actually very standard. If you brought a data flow in to Power BI Desktop, which you can do, if you opened that data flow up in the Power Query Editor, you'd get the same experience. You wouldn't see anything here. But now I can come down here and I can choose a data destination. So I need to decide where this is going to go. Okay. And I'm going to click on the plus sign and I'll zoom up so you can see that. Okay. Ooh, that's a little zoomy. I'm going to choose my lake house. That was zoomy. I'm going to choose my lake house. Okay. And it wants me to get in here and make a connection. So I've done that. Okay. Hold on. And then it says where. Okay, where do you want to put it? I'm going to put it into my Fabric workspace. That's what I called it. So I know that it's Fabric enabled just by the name. So that's another option, Sydney, is to put it into the name. And I even have this little Collab 365. So let's try in here. Let's see if we can get it in here. And I know we're running over time, John, so.
No, it's all good. I mean, live streams, they're ad hoc things. They'll just continue. But yeah. Be interesting to see this conclusion, and then just a very sort of brief comment about, to me, then once you've done this and you've got your structured, unstructured, your data flows pulling information into your lakehouse, presumably then that Power BI bit is pretty much the service. Do you still have Power BI Desktop in this family?
Yes. So Power BI Desktop is still a factor. Okay, so hold on. I just saved that one. I published that one. Okay, let me just make sure. I skipped over Geo. I don't know why. Let me do that. Now, this is something that is confusing to me personally. You have to put each one of these files you have to publish them. I shouldn't call them files. Queries. you have to publish them individually. Okay, so I'm going through each one of these and publishing them individually.
Okay.
Which I don't know why. So I'm going to have to figure that out too. But again, we're all just figuring stuff out. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put that into my Fabric workspace. And hang on, I'm going to put it into my Collab 365 area, hit next. Okay, and notice that it's asking me, do I want to append or replace? Obviously, I don't have anything in there, so I'm going to go ahead and say replace. Okay, but that's a setting. So that means that if this gets I think that means if this gets refreshed, that means that it will append. But again, take that with a big pound of salt, folks, because I'm still, like you, I'm still trying to figure out my way. All right. And Sydney's brain is on fire. Yay, you. Okay, now hold on. I'm doing the last publishing here. Next. Okay, so I think I just figured out this step. This step just allows you to connect, and you can obviously, you do all of these transformations and you can then bring individual components in. And this step right here is you set your destination for the component and you set its behavior, whether it's going to append or replace. And in this case, I'm going to, because it's telling me down in the bottom is save settings. Okay. All right. Hold on. And now I think I can go over here and publish. Okay. So I'm going to go over here. I'm just down here. Oh, Sydney. Okay. Let me talk about version control, because here's my view on version control. Now, again, you take this and, think about it how you will. I tell my students, Power BI is by design, not, how can I say this? It's by design so that you know that you're always looking at the latest version of the report. Okay, so it doesn't, now I know they've just released a version control feature. I haven't played with it, but my view on that is, if you're doing version control, you need to do it outside of the Power BI service environment, because the whole point in my mind about having the report in the Power BI service is that, or the dashboard, is that you never have to guess if you're looking at the latest thing. It's always, by definition, the latest thing. So it's a feature, not a bug. That's my opinion. Okay, so now I'm going to hit publish. But I think version control could be very useful with the notebooks. Okay, so let's see what we've got now. I just hit publish. All right, something's happening. Here comes my data flow. Okay, so
it's going to be going. It's like, yeah, it's like the Power. It's unpacked Power Query almost, isn't it? It's like getting that data and then publishing it into your desktop. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And so this was. Let me just recap what we just did. I had a data flow already that I had done the traditional way, just going into the service, creating a new data flow, saving that data flow. I already had it, did all the steps. I came into my Fabric enabled workspace and I chose data flow Gen 2. And then I chose from a data flow. So from an existing data flow. Okay, so now my big thing, and I can set up a refresh on this data flow, but now my big thing is trying to figure out, my next huge leap here is trying to figure out, okay, I've got the data flow, how do I begin to use this in Power BI? So let me go back over here to this icon. If you want to roll back, that's where I think you end up with having to store your data flows. You'd have to save version. You can't save. You'd have to save your stuff as a new data flow, I think.
Because it's always,
it's a good question.
It's not the data, is it? It's copies of the data that it brings in and will crunch for you. Like you say, the latest version. An interesting question.
I think that that's where notebooks are going to be helpful, to me, because notebooks would allow you to do versioning, I think. Okay, again, haven't used notebooks, but let me go back now to the Power BI view really quick.
Yeah, it's a good question. That's one to put on the shelf, and we'll come back to that at some point, because I do like that thought process of what do you do.
All right, so now I'm back in the ordinary plain
Future
vanilla.
live stream, Sydney.
Yeah, and now I'm back in my ordinary Power BI, nothing special. I've got to go to my Fabric workspace. I love that auditing minded is so important. Okay, so now let's see, new report. Okay, so let's see what happens. I'm going to go new report here. Okay, and data flow Gen 2, so that's what I've got. Let's see. Is this what I want? I don't think so.
Doesn't feel like it, does it? That feels like you're going to create a data flow, whereas what you want to do is use the outputs in a data set that it's spat out.
Exactly. I think that's good. Yep, this is creating a new data flow for me, so I don't want that. Okay, we're going to close that window. Okay, I don't know if that's what I wanted to do, but let's see. Let's do this. Let's go to the Power BI desktop. Hold on. Let's go to the Power BI desktop. Just when we think it, oh, hold on, it's opening, it's launching. Okay. I hate that this comes up in my window there, because then I go, oh, what's happening? Okay, and then I get distracted, so hold on. Where's my Power BI desktop? There we go. All right, let me bring that into our screen here. And let's see, first I have to make sure I'm logged in with the same account, because obviously I need to go, yep, I'm in the right account. So now I can go to get data. Ooh,
I'm going to get Sydney a t-shirt with that printed, delightfully confused. I love that phrase. That's how I feel about this, Sydney. This is a wonderful world of exploration.
It is. It's actually so, it's so exciting. I know, it does make me a geek, but you know, I saw on Reddit, you know, by the way, that Reddit is another great place for information about Fabric. They have a Reddit subreddit called Microsoft Fabric. I recommend it because they are paying attention to it. They are answering questions. They had an AMA in there yesterday or the day before. I do recommend it. So hold on. It's another place to get information. All right. And let me I'm just bringing a brand new one in here. That's all. I had one that already had stuff in there. So I'm just bringing a brand new one in. I'm in the desktop. So I'm going to go to get data, and I'm going to go to data flows. I'm going to go down to data flows. Okay. And this is all standard experience here. This is what it looks like when you connect to a data flow. Okay, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait. Come on, Power BI.
So as here we stands, we're not seeing at the top of the pyramid, at the top of the iceberg that's Power BI Desktop, we're not seeing a huge lot of difference here. Oh, all the difference is that surfacing of the services inside in this new name called Fabric. And when you get to the bit where you want to create visuals, we're looking at pretty much the same thing, aren't we? I know there's changes coming.
Yeah, it's coming. And here's something interesting. It is, I am signed in with the right account. Okay, but when I go to get data and I go to data flows, it is not, it is showing me a different account. It's showing me my dev account. But hold on, let me just try that again. Okay.
Yeah, because we should be seeing your Fabric workspace there, presumably. Yeah. Got you.
And see, this is all, and this is the tenant that I cannot enable, and I don't know, so I don't have anything in this one. So I can try signing in and out again. So I'm going to try to sign out, and then I'll try to sign in again and see if that makes any difference. Okay. I have to come over here and get my password. Hold on, hold please. Use one of these accounts. Yes, continue, got it.
I feel like I'm getting like I know Sydney, it's wonderful, and Bill joining us and some people on the YouTube channel as well, but you feel like you're getting a bit of one-to-one training here on how to navigate the wonderful world of Fabric,
Well,
and what goes wrong along the way as well, which
yeah,
it'll happen for all of us.
I think training should be a little more polished than this, but yeah,
Yeah,
you're getting
awareness.
you're getting the let's go see what we can do. Okay, so it's still seeing my other environment. So I don't know why that is. Let me see. This is the right account, so I don't know what's happening. But in any case, in theory, okay, guys, in theory, because I don't know what's going on with this right now. In theory, I should be able, but you know what? I should be able to come here and do data flows and pick up that data flow I did. So let's do something slightly different here. Let's go to, hang on. Hold, please. Power BI. Okay, that's that. That's not what I want. Let me see. Okay, so I'm in the service right now. Okay, so in theory, in the service, in a workspace, you should be able to create a report. But see, the first thing is I have to actually create the data set. So I don't have, okay, so I'm going to go here. That's going to create, okay, that's going to create a new data set. Let's try that. Okay. Add data to start building a report. I still don't think that's what I want.
Doesn't feel right, does it? It feels like your data flow should result in a data set, and it's that you hook into for your report.
No, so your data flow will go into a data set. But the problem is that I don't have, I don't see how to surface that yet. I'm sure it's possible to do, because what I have to do now is I've got to take that transform data and I've got to turn that into a model. Okay, so here's my data flow. And if I bring it into the Power BI desktop, if I could see it, I could bring it into the Power BI desktop, and then I could connect to that data flow and begin to build a model just the same way you always do. So hold on, let me try one more thing. I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to sign out entirely out here.
Stop with the polish, Sydney says. Too soon.
Well,
or is that Polish? We're not speaking Polish, are we?
All right, let me go to data flows. I'm not signed into anything. So let's see what happens now. Let's see if I can authenticate and then get to my Fabric workspace, because that's where the data flow is living. And okay, see, in this we've got, what have we got here? Refresh, so that doesn't help me any. Yeah, this is a mystery to me, so I'm not even signed into anything. Okay, hold on, let's see. Yeah, I'm not signed in. I don't know how it's connecting this and looking at this, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. It's just one step at a time. I do recommend the Learn documentation. I think they've done a really good job of trying to get stuff into that Learn documentation, and so that they have some tutorials and stuff. I love that. She says, oh my God, stop with the polish. Oh, no. Anyway, so John, I suggest that given that we've already gone over time, let's stop here.
Yeah.
And but let's do another live stream like in another week and see, hopefully by then I'll have worked through again, and everybody else, can have hopefully set up their own tenant, and if you're allowed to do that. Otherwise, I'd
absolutely encourage people to follow your pathway, Jessica, just to go and enable it, experiment with it. If you haven't got, I guess it's a bit more awkward with the dev tenant now, but find a way to get a trial on a tenant, 30 days, go and play with it and enable it and have an experiment, because I do want to see that bit where you've connected that data. I've really got that cemented view now of how data comes into your lake house. It's getting it elsewhere that I'd love to see. So yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's
and
have
that's
a chat
the part
in a week's
that
time.
I'm not up to par with. But meanwhile, definitely for anybody who's listening to this, I highly recommend GuianaCube. They are gearing up. They've already got some Fabric content out there. I highly recommend Kratos BI. I put his link, or I put his name in there. On my LinkedIn channel, or on my LinkedIn, I'm trying to publish out things as I find them. So for example, I found a great article 2 days ago about Parquet. And because all these files are stored in the data lake, and oh, there we go. So Sydney says, I suggest you add a column called sequence. Yep. That's why I like the notebook. I think the notebook does give me that ability because I can put comments in and stuff, but that's in Python, and that's going to take me a minute to figure out since I don't know. But I've got 4 books coming. Did I tell you guys I have 4 books coming, and my husband cannot read any of them? So I'll be happy to talk about the books that I got and see if
find out next week if Sydney's husband's had his fingers trapped in a book. It's not Sydney, Jessica's, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's there is so much content out there. So many people who know so much more than I do are putting excellent stuff out there. So definitely.
Hey, no, this is great, Jessica. It really is. It's explore it the way that you explore it. I think people really appreciate it.
Oh, look at that. Sydney's husband is a forester and is out looking to replant after a fire. Sydney, are you in California or Oregon? Because I know you can't be in Britain. They don't have fires.
We barely have forests.
You have forests, but you don't get forest fires, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
We do, yeah. Well, we have, yeah, we do.
No, you don't have forests. I mean, you do, but you don't. It's, yeah, no.
All I'm going to say is aluminium, and then I'm going to just stop the stream.
I'm going to stop the stream. He said, oh, that's not fair. You get to have the last word because you get to pull the plug.
Yeah, no, I won't do that.
Yes, you're right, Sydney. They do. They're the OG for forests. So anyway,
awesome.
Cool. Well, we'll do this again next week, and
yeah,
we'll just
thanks,
keep
Jessica.
puttering. I mean, who knows? We'll see if
awesome.
anybody's interested in the puttering, and if they're not, too bad. We get to learn.
We do, exactly. It's a great learning experience. It's time aside to learn, isn't it? I love this. So yeah, we'll do it again next week.
It's all about us.
Yeah,
okay.
I love watching it. It's great. Thanks, Jessica. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Thank you, Sydney, for lots of questions. That was fabulous to have you with us today.
Thank you. And thank you, William, for coming along. And hopefully we'll get more people as we build this. So yay.
Awesome. Take care, everyone. I shall stop the stream now.
Have a great weekend, you guys.